All right, hey, what's up, everybody? I am back with my weekly update. This is cycle 3, week 5. I'm halfway through the third cycle. If you're here, it's probably because you're interested in peptides or peptides for men, or like, do peptides work, or like peptide results, like, do they do anything? I am a regular guy who has no peptides to sell you, who started peptides back in March. That's almost 8 months ago now. And I thought I'd document my journey to maybe help you guys, based off of my experience, figure out if it's worth it for you to do or not. I'm not recommending them. I am not a doctor. In fact, all my stuff is prescribed by a doctor. I recommend the same. And so I'm just doing my documentation here. So if you're here because you are interested in peptides and if they work, hit subscribe. I got a bunch of videos. Each week I've been doing updates. I talk about what I receive in the mail, my dosing, the ups, downs, trials and tribulation, good and the bad. Again, I have nothing to sell you here. And if I did, I don't think I'd be doing a good job of selling because of the way that this whole process has kind of gone. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch those last videos. So cycle 3 has been very different, obviously, from the first and second cycles. Cycle 1 was awesome. I loved it. I loved the injections every time. My scans were all awesome. I felt really good. Cycle 2 came. I had high hopes. All of those good feelings went away. I felt nothing through cycle 2. The scans turned bad. It was frustrating, to say the least. Cycle 3, I came in with a renewed mindset, and I was very excited about getting a new batch because there was a lot of questions of maybe I got a bad batch or a bad source. I ruled out the source being the problem, but I thought batch could be a problem. So I got the new batch, very excited, immediately started having the allergic reactions, to which I've never had allergic reactions to anything in my life. And a couple of them were very scary. And so I had to kind of cut back on my dosing. I had to kind of work my way back up to it. Last week was the first week where I was able to do the entire 10 units of the dosing for the entirety of the week. And I still am having reactions, but they've really settled into nothing more than full body itching, which still isn't fun, but at least it's more manageable. And it's so interesting because the itching reaction is so different from like that warming and flushing reaction I was getting in cycle 1 from the CJC. The CJC would hit within like 5 minutes of the injection, and it would last for maybe like 15 minutes. The itching thing, it's a very slow unraveling or unrolling. So I'll do the injection, and I won't feel anything for probably about 20 minutes, and then I'll feel a little bit of an itch somewhere, and I'm like, that's probably the beginning. And usually it's the beginning. And so that will slowly unroll itself or unravel itself for about an hour. And so it's really kind of settled in still my hands, my feet, but where it's really settled in at is my armpits. My armpits will itch the most by a long shot, and strangely enough, my ear canals are itching inside of my head, which, I thought the booty hole itching incident was like one of the strangest spots, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go back. It's a few videos before this. The ear canal makes me want to take like a Q-tip and just like jam it in my ear. And so, but it's manageable, right? And part of me is just like, okay, good, because cycle 2 is such a disappointment. I'm glad to feel something at all in cycle 3 whenever I'm doing these injections. It's not what I want. It's not the great warming feeling that made me feel like I was doing drugs, but at least it's some sort of a recognition by my body that like, hey, you just put something in here that I wasn't expecting. And I didn't have that at all during cycle 2. So let's talk about a couple of other things very quickly as we're going into the last half of this cycle. My body composition is still not really changing very much. I just got back from Chicago, actually, and had a blast. I didn't really eat a lot, but I drank a ton, which was awesome. And so lived it up a little bit there. So like where I'm at kind of right now is where I would expect to be after a Chicago trip. I was doing calorie counting pretty much the entirety of the first half of this, but didn't really see very much weight movement. So, one of the things is a lot of people try to pitch this stuff, the ipamorelin and CJC specifically, as weight loss tools. And even whenever I was calorie counting, I didn't see any sort of like crazy drops in weight or anything. So for me, it is absolutely, look, preface this, I can always do better on my food. But even with no change in my food, I had weight drop in cycle 1, and I had nothing else in cycle 2 and cycle 3, and didn't really change my food that much during that. So I'm not buying this as a weight loss tool, at least for me, within these 8 months period. But I am noticing a few other things. I feel like my body generally is less sore. As a 46-year-old guy that pushes around pretty decent heavy weight, my hips specifically have really bothered me over the last year. But I feel like I've noticed that less over like the last 2 months, maybe 3 months, despite that I'm pushing more and more weight. every time I go to the gym. So I've noticed it's a noticeable increase or decrease in pain and increase in sort of like almost like a fluidity. So there's a little bit of something going on there with maybe the recovery and some healing stuff going on there. And that kind of makes me go, as a critical and cynical guy about this process, a little bit of an eyebrow raise, like maybe this part is the peptides. I feel like my skin is looking good. Like I feel like I look younger. I feel like my hair is somewhat fuller. I'm not going to show it to you right now because it's flattened out by this hat. But like there are some things physically that I think I am doing well on right now. So despite the fact that my fat percentage is not great and has gone up a little bit, I'm still feeling pretty good about this thing. I am looking forward to my next scan. So my muscle right now is a little bit higher than whenever I started this process 8 months ago, which is not a great promotional thing for these peptides, right? But if I can get past where I'm at right now with this muscle and put a little bit more on, that will be the most muscle that I've ever had in my life. I think I had 123 pounds like in cycle 1 or 2. I'm at like 122 point something now. I would love to see like a 125 by the time this is done, right? So I'm pounding the protein, really trying to work hard at it. I'm not sure that's going to be the benefit to the proteins or to the peptides or because of them, but it would make me feel a little bit better about this process if I can achieve something I've never achieved before with a high of muscle mass during this process. Whether or not I'm going to keep going on this, and I'm going to talk about this over the next few weeks, kind of depends on how the next few weeks go. I committed to 3 cycles financially, mentally, emotionally, all of that. This is technically the end of that process, but I don't want to give up on something if I feel like I just haven't done enough for it. I've had a lot of people just say, give up on it. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. But I am a big believer that in order to do something well, that you have to give it time to work. And I just don't buy any of those people talking about the miracle that it performed within 10 days or something like that, or those that are experiencing good benefits within a month. Like, good for you. I'm not sure it's the peptides. Maybe it is. I'm just not sure I buy it. For me to feel like I gave this a proper amount of time, I might have to go beyond 3 cycles. I don't know. If I don't, I'll switch to something else and we'll try perhaps some low dose HGH, or maybe we'll try some like the MK677. I've been seeing a lot of that kind of going around and a lot of good hype around that. So I'm open to possibilities, but for now, we're going to continue on this path and we'll figure that out as it gets closer. But again, as I've said several times, thanks you all so much for the comments, the advice, the questions, the input, because like I said at the beginning, I'm just some regular dum-dum from the Midwest. I don't have all of the answers. I'm following my doctor's instructions, and my knowledge is growing by what I learned from my doc, what I learned online, but a lot of it has come from just the interactions with you all. So thanks you all so much for that. Very much appreciated. We'll see you all in the next video. We'll see how this week goes. I gotta tighten up because Halloween's coming. I don't know what my costume is yet, but I like it to look good on me. So time to get to work. We'll see you all next week. Thanks you all so much. Peace out.